Welcome to the City Council meeting this Tuesday evening. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Walz, under Minnesota statute in Chapter 12, Emergency Management, declared a peacetime emergency on March 13, 2020. The city has determined an in-person meeting may not be practical or prudent because of the health pandemic. The City of Detroit Lakes meetings will be held via telephone conference call or by other electronic means as outlined in Minnesota Statute 13D.021. Members of the public who wish to view the meeting virtually should submit a request by Tuesday, September 8th at 12 p.m. The City of Detroit Lakes City Council meeting will also be a hybrid meeting taking place with two options. You can attend in person at the Holmes Center Ballroom located at 806 Summit Avenue or attend virtually. Again, you have to submit a request by noon today. So at this time, I'll call the regular City Council meeting for September to order. And I would like to invite all of you to please rise and join with me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held August 10th, 2020. Is there any member of the council or anyone in the audience, does anyone wish to either make any corrections, additions, or anything to the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion for their approval.
So moved. Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held August 10th, 2020. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say, go ahead.
We have to roll call.
I'll do that right after the minutes. All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we'll do the roll call. Thank you, Ron. I'm just going to do the roll call to check in all the City Council members that are here this evening. Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Boki.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Everybody's here. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone on the council or any member of the audience that wishes to either remove or add an item to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion? Roll call vote. Winner?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Imholt?
Aye.
Boki?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
I'm going to jump around on the agenda a little bit to accommodate folks that are here for specific items. And I think the first item that we'll take up is in regards to the CARES Act funding. So without objection, I'd like to go to agenda item 7B, and I would call on Chairman Suki.
Consideration to a resolution for distributing CARES Act funding, and I'll call on Kelsey and Heidi to lead us through, and there is a new figure on that resolution.
Thank you. So there is an updated resolution that was not included in your packet. It varies very slightly in total from the one that is included in your packet. Basically what this memo and resolution does is sets forth a number of expenditures that the city has either already incurred or intends to incur soon, and would like authorization from the City Council to expend CARES Act funding toward. In my memo to the City Council, there are some of the guidelines as illustrated in the Federal Coronavirus Relief Fund frequently asked questions and guidance as far as showing which items are eligible for the funding and giving reasoning why they are eligible based on those guidance. The resolution does also include the same information, and so for tonight, the resolution has a total funding being requested of $337,320 and 63 cents, which leaves the remaining funds available from the total city's CARES Act funding of $376,528.37.
Okay.
Kelsey, do you, would you care to highlight any of it, or,
Mayor and council, I think the memo does a pretty good job outlining the different reporting types that we have to basically qualify those through the Federal CARES Act. So there's different categories. You see, like there's payroll expenses, compliance with COVID-19 public health precautions, and then on the bottom there's several that are just economic support. So again, there's some wages that we had for city staff that was diverted because of COVID, some of the supplies, some of the park equipment, some of the extra costs in the parks dealing with porta potty costs that were not budgeted. We have a pretty sizable line item there for a server upgrade that we've ran into when we were doing telework. Then we have some business interruption for the community center of $33,855. We have a purchase of some equipment for Detroit Mountain at $30,600 is on there. And then the other economic support includes the already approved liquor license refunds that we did a few months ago, the 4-month reimbursement. We talked a little bit at the Finance Committee too that we'll probably be looking at doing another 4-month reimbursement once we get our food and beverage tax receipts in. We can show that justification. We had some rental agreement reimbursements for softball association and youth soccer. We have the utility bill support funding that we approved last month. And then also we approved some temporary seating to be installed on Washington Avenue. I think that's the bulk of it.
Okay. I know there are a couple of folks here this evening that wanted to make a comment regarding the CARES Act funding, a couple of people that have local businesses. And do you want to speak first? Okay. Will you come up to the podium so we can use the microphone? And then let us know who you are and what your business is and your address, if you would. Okay.
Can I take this off or no?
Would you please, so we can hear better?
Okay, thank you, because I'm claustrophobic, so it's hard for me owning a restaurant doing this. I just want you to know. I'm the owner of Sapphire Sushi, Hibachi, and American Cuisine. I'm Raina Tucker. I'm at 705 US Highway 10 East in Detroit Lakes. I came in here just kind of inquiring more about the CARES Act and what the city is going to do for the local businesses. I did talk to Kelsey a little bit about it. I did get denied the first round for the county, partly to do with it was 3 months, and I did get the PPP Act or the loan, and so that PPP loan was $87,000 for me, and then I was only negative $40,000. So I am working with Guy Fisher at the county, and I'm going for the second round because they've now opened it up to 6 months rather than 3 months. But I guess now talking to Kelsey, it kind of opened up a little bit more information for me because I actually wasn't aware of this meeting. Being that you're busy and working all the time, trying to keep your business afloat, you don't see what's happening in Detroit Lakes for the city council or for the county. You try to keep up with it, but sometimes it's hard. But I just wanted to bring before the council that, when we bought the place in April, we went $130,000 over budget due to black mold. We opened August 23rd with 29 employees. COVID hit, we laid off everybody except for our family, which was really hard. Called back several of the employees with the PPP, which was nice. But remember, the PPP is for the employees. It's not really for the business. In that time frame, my husband and I did get paid for the PPP, but we are now still on unemployment. My husband and I made $14,350 during that PPP Act, which was good, because my mortgage for my house is now in forbearance for 12 months, and we've sold everything we own. But I guess I was just coming in not knowing what you guys are looking for in regards to the extra expenditures of the CARES Act. But Kelsey explained to me that you're going to probably look at the same thing as the county is doing, which now kind of opens up a little bit more information for me. But the only catch that I want to present is that I was open 7 days a week, and I did have up to at least, at the beginning of, obviously, you know, being a new business, you're going to have more employees than you should. But now I would have had 25 employees. I have 17. At the time of the 25 employees, the age range, or the range for their ages were between 17 to 58. Now I have 14 to 50, and it's just tough because during all of this, I've paid, I don't know how much in trying to get people to come and work for me for advertising, and they apply because they want to keep their unemployment. I've had 22 interviews scheduled and 22 not show up. So it just gets frustrating. So I just was looking for what the county or the city is going to do in regards to the extra money from the CARES Act. But just to give you an idea, my liquor license, or my liquor, when we first started, let's see, I was averaging about $11,000 a month in liquor. And again, being a new business, a lot of people don't know I have liquor, you know, because it was Country Kitchen. I'm now down to, let's see, I had my notes here. I'm down to, so my average liquor was about $11,000. I'm down to about $4,000 in liquor a month now. So you can just see the huge cut in the benefit of the liquor, which I'm not complaining because liquor is good for everybody during this time. So it's just a frustration. And then my average food sales, let's see, my average cost of food now is only about $13,000 a month. It used to be a lot more than that. I've been averaging my NSF fees for my bank. My bank's been kind of riding me out through all of this. Since March, I've paid over $4,000 in NSF fees. And thank goodness I did actually just receive the EIDL loan, but it is a loan and you do have to pay it back. So that was nice because now that's kind of cushioned my account so that I can pay for the bills that I have that are coming through. The SBA specifically states as to what we can use that money for. So I'm keeping track of that. But I guess that's about it. If anybody has any questions for me. I wasn't on track for 1.3 million and I only did 758,000 this year. So.
Kelsey, do you just want to clarify for the
Yeah.
council and for anybody else here that our program would be exactly the same as the county, and the criteria is the same?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I just want to clarify. So we currently do not have a city program, but what we were talking about is the city's CARES money has to be used the same way that the county CARES money has to be used. So we were talking a little bit about the application and trying to figure out what the problem was with why she didn't get funding in the first round. Because again, ultimately, even if the city had their own program, we'd run into similar issues because we got to see what that financial loss and that need is. And the good news is that she's working with Guy on doing the second round application, which opening up to those more months hopefully will help you, show that loss or show what that track record is. The one thing I wanted to clarify is, in Finance Committee, we misquote. We thought the applications were due. The original press release, I think, said the 27th, but I just checked their website because you mentioned.
Yeah.
It actually says September 15th is the deadline for the second round of applications, so I certainly want to emphasize that. So again, certainly encourage everyone to apply to the county program, provide that information, because ultimately that's what's going to determine what the need is in the community. Now, that's still a discussion, I guess, for the council. Do we want to create our own program? Do we want to provide funding to the county to provide an extra boost, there is still, there's still half of our CARES money available, so I think that's still up for discussion.
Well, I think that sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did I interrupt something?
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, if any of you remember, I was talking about this 2 months ago with the county that unfortunately I feel they set up the program too complicated.
Yeah.
I understand there's a talk, I talked to both Madeline and Kelsey about this, so this isn't news to them, but I understand you have to have some accountability. I understand that. But I do think if you talk to a lot of the small business owners, I've had a lot of people that have applied for the PPP loan and the EIDL loan and the Becker County grant loan and the Minnesota state loans and grants and all that stuff that's out there. And what's frustrating to a lot of people is, you're trying to run your business and compile the information. And, even I use the example today with Kelsey. I got somebody who's got very sophisticated accounting software. They can basically break their sales down by day, by product, and it's pretty easy to print out a financial statement. But even then, you still got to follow all the criteria within what they've got. And a lot of those folks then, especially because of the PPP money or other grant money, get kicked out and they aren't eligible for a grant. So within the context that we could look at that program and try to not piggyback on the county, well, my suggestion is, and I'm happy to sit down with anybody that wants to be on a committee, and it can be a blind application, but I can tell you who needs the money. It's the bar restaurant folks, the hotel motel folks, and the personal service folks like the beauty salons, haircuts, massage, people that didn't get to open till into June. Those are the folks that need the money. I can make a list of that, and I bet you everybody else in the room could list that out, and we might have 30 or 40 applications, and it'd be easy enough to take the money and just divvy that up without a lot of criteria other than saying, it might not be a lot of money, it might be $5,000 to each business, but it would be a lot better to give you some dollars than try to have everybody fill out an application. That's my feeling. Now, I don't know how that fits in with requirements. I understand there's requirements, but to me, the easier we can make it and get it to the people, in my opinion, that really need it, would be better than trying to work through some complicated application.
Well, just with the profit and loss statement, just so everybody understands, it doesn't show the whole picture of the business. Like I said, we've sold everything we own. The only thing I have now is my house. Sorry. I told myself I wasn't going to cry, and I do this every time.
Well, we'll give you a minute here. Dave, do you want to say a few things too? Yeah. And then we can come back in a minute, okay?
All right, I'm Dave Meyer. I own the Sandbar in Detroit Lakes. Obviously, I got told I was not eligible by the county also because my payroll protection loan money, and I did get a grant from the EIDL for $10,000, exceeded my net loss. My net loss was just over $32,000, and my PPP and the grant exceeded that. So obviously, I was extremely frustrated when I found that out. But when I did fill the application out, I kind of figured that would happen anyway. So I want to just piggyback on what Bruce was saying. Hey, that's ideal if we can do that because the county extended it for 3 months. And now with my sales that I have, obviously we were busier in June, July, and August than we were in March, April, and May because we were open. However, in June, I was at 62.5% of my sales of the previous June, and in July, I was at 74%. And I haven't done August yet. But I would guess that August is going to be probably trend about the same. So I'm not going to qualify again for the county grant, I would assume. I'll fill it out and turn everything in because it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take forever. But so what I would like for you guys to take into consideration is that I'll talk about my business first. When I say we, I mean my business right now. So normally we do the fair, we do the beer gardens for the fair. That, obviously, the Becker County Fair got canceled, so that's one big summer event that we don't have. We've lost several weddings that I think we had 4 weddings booked throughout the summer, so we lost all those. And then the road is closed in front of us. That kills us during the day for lunch, because people drive by and say, oh, I guess we'll just keep going. So everything is compounding on top of everything else. And with all of the restrictions that are set forth through the executive orders that have affected us tremendously, normally on Labor Day, for the Friday of Labor Day weekend through the Friday of Memorial Weekend, we have live entertainment on Friday nights. Well, obviously, we can't have live entertainment because we can't follow the restrictions. We can't follow the social distancing and the capacity restrictions, so that's pretty much out of the question for us. So as a result of that, there is no opportunity really for us to make any extra money in the winter. And our slow time is the summer, and our busier time is normally the fall, winter, and spring. So I'm really concerned that we are not going to be busy enough to pay our employees and pay our bills. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to last. There's no definite time frame on all the restrictions are going to keep on going. There's some evidence, there's some talk and maybe some evidence that during the flu season this might get worse, so we might get shut down again. I don't know. So when we say the county, we have to, when I hear you have to follow the county's guidelines, maybe the county needs to hear from you guys and they got to fix their guidelines.
Amen.
Because it's not working. I mean, I don't know a bar or a restaurant that qualified, to be honest with you. I've talked to half a dozen, but I didn't talk to everybody, obviously. So hopefully we can do something there. I don't know.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for me? Because basically right now, you're our last resort. We have no other hope that I can think of. If it gets catastrophic, which, talk to me now.
Just for a clarification, Dave, we're not following the county guidelines, we're following the COVID-19 CARES Act.
And I don't know what the guidelines are. I did just get off the phone with Paul Marquardt right before this meeting, and he told me he didn't think that the PPP and the other grants had to subtract from your net loss as a guideline, as a determining factor if you qualified or not. He didn't think that was, but I don't know the answer to that because I didn't read the guidelines. So.
Yes, I don't believe it.
I don't believe that's
Kelsey's
true.
more versed in it than I am, but I read through it, and I didn't, until you get to where you got to add the PPP back, there would have been a bunch of people that qualify.
I think everybody would
So
qualify.
I don't have any conflict here because Dave's not a client of mine, but whatever Dave just said, I can word's slipping me now, but reinforce, thank you. Reinforce what he's saying, because that's what I'm hearing from a lot of, I mean, you can drive down the street and you see the hub in Lakeside and Zorba's all busy and you think nothing's changed, but that doesn't take it, especially guys like Dave and some of the other smaller restaurants that have probably been more impacted. But even those restaurants on the main drag had a bad April, May, and part of June. So I guess whatever we can do, what I'm urging the council to look at and the staff to look at is within the guidelines that we can use and still have accountability. I'd like to see us make it as flexible and as easy as possible for these folks.
And I did talk to Gretchen also, Gretchen Hunter, who she owns I don't know, is Nader. Anyway, she's really concerned also because they're going to slow down now. So and if you walk into the Brig, they have 7 tables they can sit at. Not going to make any money doing that. So now we're a little more fortunate. We have a bigger area, but it's still not ideal. So that's actually our problems are a direct result of all the restrictions imposed by the executive orders. So hopefully you guys can take a look at that and maybe help the county out or
I'm going to make one more comment, Mayor. I apologize if I keep talking here, but when I saw the county guidelines and they said, Dave, they were going to add back the PPP loans, I said that took out, I didn't know of anybody that didn't get a PPP loan that was in business that I worked with. So, I mean, that immediately took out a whole chunk of folks that I knew about, and I don't know why they threw that in there. I guess they were trying to make it, they were targeting somebody, but my response was I talked to a couple of county commissioners about this, and I said, you guys, you made it way too complicated, and think about changing it. Well, they wanted to follow, they had some consultant that worked with them, and whatever. expressing my frustrations also.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Raina, do you have anything more to add? That's all right. We understand.
If we were open 7 days a week, I would show a negative loss of probably $90,000. But as a business owner, you make a decision to be smart and not go negative that much money and not, so my profit and loss statement for 3 months was negative 40,000. My PPP was 87,000. I was under the guidelines of only spending it within the 8 weeks. I didn't receive those guidelines that you could go to 24 weeks until after the fact. So I had to spend it during that 8 weeks time frame. And to keep those employees that actually were good, excellent employees, I had to pay them as much as unemployment was paying them to keep them in my facility and keep them there. So, or else they would have said to me, well, sorry, I'm just gonna go ahead and stay at home and take unemployment and not work. So I had to give them the same amount of money, if not more, to keep them there in order for me to keep my business going. So that was what I was trying to say, sorry.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
just haven't made a paycheck since the PPP.
Can I add one thing? Which
Sure.
is that
Go ahead.
I also had to close my business. We were normally open 6 days a week. During the period where we were in June and May and April and part of March, we were only open 3 days a week. And then now, right now, we're only open 5 days a week because we're just not busy enough for food. And that's the result.
Yep. And then 4th of July week for me was almost the killer. I almost shut down completely because 4th of July week I had 5 employees because I had to have 5 employees for lunch, run the business, standing around doing absolutely nothing, and I made $100. So I had to change my hours and go to 3 o'clock to close and then close 1 day a week. So and I can't compete against McDonald's and Burger King and DQ, and they got, $1.50 burgers. Well, my burgers are sirloin and they're $12. So what am I supposed to do, I have to adjust, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So it sounds like we're going to have more discussion on this, which is fine. And the action tonight is just to approve the expenses highlighted in green, correct? That's the resolution?
Yeah, and Mayor and Council, I just want, while Dave and them are here, I mean, it is complicated. This CARES money didn't come with great instructions. We've sat through several webinars, and I've seen a lot of other business subsidy programs look like that other counties and cities are doing. And I'll go back and ask that question again if we have to include PPP, but the guidance we were given is that you are supposed to back out the PPP money. The idea is it's supposed to be, you're not supposed to be able to double dip into that fund. So, I can't say that the county's doing it wrong based upon the guidance that we've received. And again, we got to follow those same rules. We'll go back and ask those questions. But again, that's the challenge, is we have to have an application process that shows the need. And Bruce, you and I have talked. I mean, if it was just as easy, we could just cut checks to every business, but we can't. We were specifically told you cannot do that. You have to have that justification. You have to show the business interruption and the business loss is what we've been told time and time again through these webinars. And we'll go back and we'll ask that question again. But that's the challenge with this. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, the next 6 months is the problem, right? I mean, you're going into winter. I mean, that's the problem. But we can't use the CARES money for future, what we think is going to be a deficit. It has to be spent by November 15th, so you're stuck with this window, and that's just what was handed to us, unfortunately. So,
Well, let's ask the question again and maybe touch base with Paul Marquardt, see if he knows something that we don't. So, well, thank you both for coming. There's no one else here from business, is there?
Comments?
Pardon me?
We'll have comments on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we should get a motion on the table for tonight's action, and then I can open it up for discussion from the council.
Yep, the Finance Committee did review the CARES funding that the staff has listed here as the first step, and we move authorization of those funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution regarding the CARES Act funding, and what we're approving tonight is just the items outlined in green. And with that, I'll open it up for discussion. I think, Ron, you want to start?
Yes, I personally, I think that, we've got a lot of business in town. We just heard a lady here losing their home. We have self-employed people that don't have work. These people are all asking for help, whether it's a restaurant, a hotel, a regular business downtown. Everybody's sales are way off, and they're wondering how to pay their bills. Some people have already gone out of business. And when I see that we've got $713,849 that came to the city for Detroit Lakes, and we haven't been able to find one business to help people with, it's like we're helping ourselves. We're no better than what Washington, D.C.'s been doing. And I think it's great we could help some things in the town, but let's remember the people that are really hurting and losing their life savings, they're losing their homes, losing their businesses. And we come up, one of the items in here, we could give $135,000 for turf for the hockey arena so they can play football next spring. To me, that has no reason to be in here. It should be helping people that need help. And that's what this is all about, and that's why this money was given. And if we can't find money to help people and go the right way, and I think what Bruce is saying, we should be able to help a lot of families out here. Even if it's just $5,000, it goes a way to help people paying their bills. And we've got to come up with a solution on this. But to just do nothing to help the local business person that's going out of business and is hurting, and they're crying for help, and we're not helping them, we're not doing our job as a city council.
Further discussion?
I've got a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that we need to get this money out and get it spent. But also coming from the other side, looking at Kelsey's position and Heidi's position, there's no guidance, but the guidance is out there on how to spend grant dollars and government money. It comes in 2 CFR 200. You break those things, and then we're paying back all the dollars that we gave away. So it is a little bit more difficult. There's a lot of moving pieces here. I want to get this other $326,000 spent as much as anybody else, but we also need to be smart about it. I'm not an accountant, but I know enough that it is a difficult process. I want to get the money out to Dave. I want to get it out to all the other people that were impacted. But if it comes down to the bare bones, and somebody at the Washington, D.C. comes back and says, why did you spend it this way when our guidance says, hey, you're not supposed to do that, then we're in trouble. So I think taking a cautious approach, coming back, taking a look at it again, review the frequently asked questions to be able to get the rest of this $327,000 out to the people that need it is important. And hopefully we can get something taken care of in the next month or so.
Okay, further discussion or comments? I'll call the question. The motion and seconds on the table. Wenner?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Imholt?
Aye.
Boki?
Aye.
Mark Sirksen?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
The motion carries. Heidi, Terry Heaton is not on the line tonight, right, is she? Or she is here?
Yep, we just need to move her in.
Okay, let's go ahead and move to item 7A, Madeline.
Yep. Terry
Actually,
Beaton is with Springstead, and she would like to give us the results of the sale of our general obligation bonds, Series 2020B. That's for numerous street projects, South Washington being probably the primary one. Terry, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
And you're Baker Tilly now, not Springstead, right?
That's right.
Okay.
We were purchased a year ago. So I can give the report, the results of the sale. Bids were received at the Baker Tilly offices at 10:30 this morning on behalf of Detroit Lakes. The bond size was $3,075,000. And we had estimated about a month ago that these bonds with about a 14-year term would have an interest rate of about 1.61%. And the actual results were that you received 4 bids, and it representing about 25 financial institutions, and the actual low bid came in from Piper at 1.47%. So about 14 basis points less than our estimate. And in fact, all of the interest rates were less than 1.61. The bids range from 1.47 to 1.53. So you had really great results in the market today. And you received a premium bid, and so that means that they paid a higher dollar amount than the par amount of the bonds of $3,075,000. And along with a lower fee, we were able to lower the issuance size by $69,000. So the amount outstanding is $3,034,109 to receive the same bond proceeds. So we're very pleased with those results. Part of why there was so much interest is they are wanting high credit rating, or bonds that with a high credit rating, and these were tax exempt bonds. And so the credit rating report that was issued, I'm just going to turn here and look at it, is, it's a AA with a stable outlook. They're especially looking for stable because they ask a lot of questions about COVID-19. And of course it affects businesses, but it also affects the municipalities and the revenues that you were expecting and aren't receiving. And so they ask a lot of questions about that and about cybersecurity and other risks that are part of the pandemic. And with that, the staff is very good at answering those questions so that they felt comfortable putting a stable outlook on your AA. They talk in the report about how you're addressing and handling COVID-19. And from the report, they look at you that you have strong financial management, strong budgetary performance, very strong flexibility, very strong liquidity. And so those are important aspects of what they're looking at when they assign that rating, and of course what our investors are looking for when they bid on these bonds. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, we are recommending that the city accept the low bid from, I guess the formal name is Piper Sandler and Company.
Okay, any questions for Terry? Okay, Terry, thank you. Should we get a motion on the table?
Finance Committee moves to accept that bid for the sale of their general obligation bonds.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution awarding the sale of our general obligation bonds, Series 2020B. And is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a roll call vote. Suki?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Bulkey?
Aye.
Imholt?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Winner?
Aye.
The motion passes. And also with that, there's item 2.
Right, consideration to a resolution approving the issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020C. And Heidi, just give us a brief description of that.
Sure. So these bonds are bonds that were issued in 2011. They funded the North Washington Avenue and North Tower Road projects. The amount of the funding, or the amount of the bonds that's left is $2,225,000. And it is at a point where we can refund those bonds and take advantage of some better interest rates, so that's what we'd like to do. Another portion of this bond was a TIF portion of this bond. That portion, we actually have enough funds in that TIF fund, in particular to retire all of those costs of that portion of the bond, so that's what we'll do. We'll pay off that portion and then just refund the portions that are related to the North Washington Avenue and North Tower Road projects. So tonight the resolution would be to approve the issuance and sale of the general obligation refunding bonds, and then we'd likely have Terry back next month to present some more sale results.
The Finance Committee reviewed this and approves the issuance and sale of those general obligation refunding bonds.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution approving the issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020C. Discussion?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I probably should have let you know the really good news. So our savings, which is probably what everyone's curious about, we're projecting the savings to be about $310,000. So significant savings in doing this refunding.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's good news. Further discussion? I'll call a roll call vote. Bulkey?
Aye.
Imholt?
Yes.
Josephson?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Wenner?
Aye.
Mark Erickson?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Suki?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Terry. See you.
Thank you. You too much.
Okay, without objection, I'd like to move Madeline to item 7E. We have Peter Jacobson and Stu Omberg here from the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. So, Peter, you going to start us off? Yep. Okay.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. We presented our budget, capital budget, operating budget, and our rates to the Finance Committee earlier today, and then, which I believe are coming to you this evening for approval. Prior to doing that, I also provided an overview of the impact of COVID-19 on the community center, and the mayor asked that I come back and share that similar overview with the entire council, given this building and this organization is a significant asset to the community, and like the businesses that were in our meeting earlier, have been impacted significantly. For background, I joined the community center back in December, and Stu did not warn me that there was a COVID on its way. So it was first 3 months where we were fully open. I shared a quick story that in early January, I came over on a Saturday after going to a show in the theater where there were 700 very energetic people enjoying really good entertainment, and then came back over Saturday morning to play racquetball and dropped my wife off to do yoga, and there were several hundred people in the gym at basketball tournaments, and the pool was full of people swimming and doing water exercise, and the track was full. And at any rate, long story, but I felt like, wow, this is exactly why we have a community center. It's being well utilized, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be part of it. Fast forward about 2 months till early March, when I came over on a Saturday morning as well to see a similar size group in the facility, and instead of it warming my heart, it sort of soured my stomach a little bit, because that was the time just before COVID when we were worried about, if you touch this surface, are you going to get it, and how rapidly is this going to spread? So it's been a challenging several months for the community center. If you look on what I handed out, my colleague Amy Stearns and I have been going out and visiting with businesses and organizations that support the community center to share a bit of our story. And on the inside, it talks about what we were doing prior to COVID, which was all the kinds of things that you would think about in a very integrated, robust community center, from the fitness side in terms of checking people in to exercise and offering fitness classes and all of those kinds of things, to what we do on the theater side, which is provide entertainment and cultural opportunities for people in the theater, as well as outreach and all those kinds of things. So things were going along really well. March came, and between the months of March and the end of May, or actually June 10th, we did a rapid change where we closed, and we laid off about 90% of our staff. There was about a small group that stayed on with a PPP loan help, and those of us that stayed also took pay reductions over the course of the summer. And we really focused on maintaining the building, offering virtual programming for people, because people still were very isolated at the time. So we had as many as 600 or 700 people doing our fitness classes over Zoom. We also began then to get ready to offer outdoor programming and open the center again. And thankfully, we were able to do that in June, and because of the work our staff, we were well prepared. So when June came, we continue even to this day to offer virtual classes, outdoor classes, because a good portion of people in our community are not comfortable going back to, and maybe shouldn't go back to some of the things they were doing previously. But we also began to welcome our members back into our organization at that time. And June, our members started coming back. We started offering classes again. In the month of June, a normal summer day is 600 to 700 people coming through our door. In the month of June, we were about 200. The month of July, we were about 300, and the month of August, about 325. So we've been gradually growing. We've also then been preparing for fall, and fall that's going to look different as well. So we're continuing to offer outdoor recreational opportunities for kids and for adults, anything we can do that we can provide in a COVID-friendly manner. We offered, Tuesdays in the park all summer, and we're going to continue to offer some outdoor concerts into the fall as well. And there's some unknowns about where this is taking us in the future. Financially, obviously, this has had a significant impact, just like the other the businesses that were here earlier. And if you look at this sheet right here, just to give a little bit of context. So prior to COVID, the last 19 years that this organization has been here, we've had an average operating margin of about 1%, about $25,000, which is good, although it's not great or it's not fantastic to be able to cover some of the depreciation expense and making sure that we have assets for the future. We had about 30 days of cash on hand, about 100 days of cash available, which we were fortunate, and we needed to dip into that. If we were going to fully fund our depreciation and deferred maintenance, we would need operating income of about $275,000. Where does our money come from? About 80% comes from direct services. So memberships, day passes, silver group comes from ticket sales in the theater. About 15% comes from grants and philanthropy, which we've been working hard at. And then the city provides about 5% of our annual operating support. So short-term, COVID had a huge impact with the 3 months of closure, meant basically no revenue. We lost, initially I was encouraged that we didn't lose a lot of membership when we were closed, but when we opened again, that started to happen, and we're now so far down about 20% of our members, with another close to 15% that have put their memberships on hold. So we're approaching that 35% loss in revenue from memberships on the fitness side. That added up to about $700,000 in losses from the time we closed through the end of the summer. We were able to offset some of that with a PPP loan. Longer term, what does it mean? Loss of memberships and bringing those memberships back. It's not like we're going to have a vaccine and then people are going to go back to normal. It's going to be a period of time before we regain our members. We're a period of time where we're able to do things in the theater like we've done before. So in the budget that we presented, that was in your packets, it includes a 35% loss of memberships, 50% of our silver group, which is our older members, and then about 75% of our theater ticket sales. We're really, quite honestly, not sure what we can do in the theater. 38% reduction in earned revenue. We reduced our salaries about 18%. We do have a fair amount of fixed costs, and we in order to be open the number of hours, it makes it hard to reduce salaries at the same rate as we're tying that back to revenue. And so we anticipate burning through about $44,000 a month in cash as we enter into this new fiscal year. I mentioned earlier I've been involved in either healthcare administration or now at the community center for 30 years. I've never submitted a budget with a life expectancy statistic in it, but that's actually what is in our budget now, is Stu and I kind of saying, if things don't change, how long before we would have to hand over the proverbial keys, and which is not something we want to do, or we certainly don't ever want to see that happen. So we need about $400,000 of improvements. If you look on the other side, where are we going to get that? Some of it is going to come from recapturing lost earned revenue. That's actually where I want to get the money back, is from having our members come back and filling up our theater and all those kinds of things and generating the revenue. I'm confident we can do that if we can get things under control, but that's going to take some time. Also focusing on increased contributed revenue, and our members have been generous. We have Friends of the Theater and a group over on the fitness side that provide checks for $25 to $100 to lots and lots of people have reached out. We've worked on business partnerships and support. That's been a big part of our history in the past. It's becoming an even bigger part. And actually, the presentation that I'm sharing with you, we've shared with several of the large businesses in town to engage their partnership in moving forward. And then it's going to come from either city or other governmental support. And we're, like I said, while there is a life expectancy, we're committed to not ever seeing that day come and figuring out a path forward to make sure that we're providing the services that this community needs in a COVID world. And then you can kind of see, this is different ways that different businesses have been supporting us. So do you have questions for me about that at all?
Anybody have any questions?
Or Stu, anything to add?
No, I guess the thing I would add is that while we're presenting a budget with a 17.6 month life expectancy, that's actually better than we thought it was going to be. We originally, when we started this whole process back in March, came out with about a 9-month life expectancy. So if you're going to look at the glass half full and half empty, let's look at it half full. It's not going to be tomorrow, but it's not going to be years down the road. So we do have a little bit of time, and there's some positive things that are happening. Peter's conversations with businesses in town. So I think there is positive things happening. Please understand, this is a budget, but it's more of a forecast. Who knows? Because if they turn around and shut us down again, all bets are off. If a vaccine comes out and something changes dramatically, obviously that changes everything. So I'd love to tell you this is it, dyed-in-the-wool budget. You all know that's not true. This is the best we can put forward right now.
Thanks for coming back tonight and addressing the whole council.
We, like the businesses that were here, have submitted CARES Act funding requests to the county. The first round we were not eligible for because not-for-profits were not eligible. And then we had the same issue that the other businesses has had because of the time frame. Our PPP loan has got us through that. So we'll be submitting for their second round as well. But I think, like those other businesses, our biggest concern is the months and actually years ahead, and not wanting to deplete the assets that we have, knowing that we're sitting in a building that has significant needs to be reinvested in over time as well. And if we deplete all of the assets we have, we're not going to be able to make the reinvestments that are necessary. So, thank you.
Thank you. So the action tonight, Madeline, is to approve the budget and rates, and I believe the rates are listed in the brochure, right?
Yes.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the budget and rates for 2021 for the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center.
The Finance Committee did review them, and so moves.
I think Jamie
Did you make a
moved.
motion?
Sorry, yeah.
You can second.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center budget and rates for the year 2021. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Oops, I got to do a roll call. I'm sorry. Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes?
Boki.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
I can't wait till that's over too.
Hard to change old habits.
It is, isn't it? So I think we have a little bit more time before we have to do our preliminary budget and tax levy presentation. So at this time, I'm going to call on Tara and Adam, who are here tonight from the Pelican River Watershed District, and they're going to tell us what condition the flowering rush is in, and also there's an agenda item on here, agenda item 6B.
Yeah, there's actually two agenda items. We talked a little bit at Public Works about 6B, which was a discussion item, and then 7I was on the consent agenda, approving our annual payment to the watershed district about flowering rush, which Tara's going to tell us more about.
Hi, good evening. I'm a bearer of better news than the last two people who were up here.
That's good.
Oh, it's been quite the year, huh? Brenda from our office, Brenda Moses, put together this nice little financial picture through the years of our efforts to control flowering rush. And next week, we're going to be working with the newspaper and the radio station to do more of a bigger splash. So this is kind of maybe a prelude to some of that information. But we were very excited this year regarding the proof in the pudding, I guess, with flowering rush. Any of you were on the lake this year, you'll notice a very different lake than when it was over 10 years ago. And so we're real proud of that. But it took a lot of effort and a lot of financing to get our local resource into the shape that it's in. So just to point out something, that even as just a few years ago, we were spending, anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000 a year on treatments, and this year we had the $20,000 that included flowering rush and curly leaf pondweed. I mean, unbelievable. Every year I always struggle with budgeting as far as, especially with curly leaf pondweed. We never know what kind of year it's going to be. Last year it was $47,000 to treat, and this year it was around 16. So, I mean, how do you set a budget with that? You just don't know how a plant's going to grow. Flowering rush, on the other hand, is a little more dependable, I guess you would say, with using our management techniques over the years. And I mean, flowering rush this year was $3,000. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. So our researchers down in Mississippi State, we were telling in the news, and they're just, this is a home run. That's all I can say. Adam, I'm going to introduce you, Adam Mortensen. He has been with us almost a year now, but he was on the lakes with me helping to do the delineations. I'll let him just tell you what his firsthand experience with that was.
All right, so yeah, as Tara said, it's obviously a lot less out there. A lot of you use the lake and have seen that there's a lot less flowering rush. The densities we saw were very low. Many places we couldn't even justify a treatment. That's not to say the flowering rush still isn't out there, but we had 25 acres. That's astounding. We treated 150 in years past. So we started doing some treatments on the shore too. Flowering rush will grow outside of the water. Of course, our submerged treatments don't really do anything to the plants that aren't in the water. So we've started doing some foliar treatments, as we call them, on the shorelines. We've kind of started asking residents to keep an eye out for any flowering rush that's growing on the shoreline that we may miss. I know we did have a report later this year of a patch that was on the inside of somebody's dock that we didn't see. So we still have some ahead of us, but the city beach, there wasn't a lick of it on the city beach that we saw. There's a little bit of curly leaf pondweed out there, but as Tara said, it's very unpredictable and it's hard to stay on top of that. But yeah, we're winning the battle. Things are looking great out there, and we're gonna keep on fighting the good fight, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions just on our treatments or anything like that? I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but we were so happy this year, and we couldn't have done it without the help of the City of Detroit Lakes. I mean, it's really an example of a true partnership of governments working together along with our residents to make this happen. So again, thank you for that.
Got
Okay.
a couple quick
Go ahead, Bruce.
Because Tara and Adam were out on the pontoon, and then she called me up and said, we need to find some flowering rush just for further research. Do you know where there is some? And I said, the only thing I know is there's some in the ditch now, not in the lake, on South Shore Drive. So I don't know if you ever found that or not.
No, we didn't go there. We're still managing the flowering rush and bulrush mixed stand on Lake Sally. There's about 60 acres, and this was our 3rd year of our treatments. It takes us about 3 to 4 years of twice a year to kind of get that under control. So fortunately, I know, Adam, we were starting to sweat bullets. What Bruce is referring to is our researchers down in Mississippi State. There's another study that they wanted to start up down there with some newer chemicals. And so they called us up and say, hey, we'll send you a cooler. Can you just collect some samples and send it back down to us? We're like, oh yeah, no problem. Well, we were out in Detroit. We're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing. There's no coolers. We used to send back tens of coolers back down to Mississippi State, and now we couldn't find a cooler worth. So we went on Sally, and thank goodness, well, I don't know, thank goodness, but we did find some flowering rush so we could ship back to them. So we were like, phew, we got that covered. So, but it was really amazing because I hadn't been on the lake looking at every little parcel for a few years, and the difference was astounding, just astounding. That's all I can say.
Well, Mayor, when I asked her to come, were you going to give us an update on anything else? You said curly leaf plantweed, and was there anything else you wanted to mention?
Regarding the curly leaf, that is one that, one year we'll have a thick patch, and the next year not so much, and so I call it the mystery plant. We never know where it shows up. But, we budget enough to, at least if we get a more of a heftier crop, like the $50,000 worth, we have it at least in the budget. So that is a good thing that we continue to do. We've had a lot of phone calls in the last 2 weeks regarding native plant blow-ins, where the native plants are out there. It's been 2, 3, 4 degrees warmer, the water temperatures this year than last year, let's say. And so with the clear water, especially with the zebra mussel, clarifying that water, and then we have more sunlight, and then it's warmer. Just think of your gardens. I mean, we've had bumper crops of native plants as well, growth as well. And then we've had this series of high winds. I mean, I'm so sick of the wind the last 2 weeks, so the plants are starting to senesce or die back, and then we got these heavy winds and the storms, and they break the native plants off, and they blow in on the shore. So our personnel who picks up the plants roadside every week on Detroit, Sally, Melissa, he said that the truckloads are getting us twice as much as they've had in prior years. In fact, we were talking this morning, and he said he doesn't remember. It's been many years since we've had the amount of native plants blowing up on shores that we've seen this last week or two. So hopefully people will kind of bear with us on that. So that's been going okay.
And then I know this is a DNR issue, but do you have any reports about the mussels, about the zebra mussels, as far as are they increasing, decreasing, staying the same?
I don't know. We have been collecting zooplankton samples, which kind of tells us how much the food sources within the water here, but we send those samples to the DNR, and unfortunately right now their staff is very low. So we're sitting on these samples. They don't expire. So at some point we're hoping to find somebody to analyze those samples. So I can't even tell you what the impact of a zebra mussel is on our lake right scientifically. So maybe the anecdotal would be what you're seeing on your docks and equipment as you're taking it out this year.
Further questions?
Just a comment.
Jamie.
Just to say thank you. You know, when I first came on the council, this was the biggest single issue, really, the flowering rush. And to see that has almost been eliminated seems like a miracle to me. I mean, you would have never seen that coming. It's just incredible. One of the single biggest successes that we've had.
Yeah, not just in this community, but in the whole AIS world, around the world, actually. I still get emails once a month from somebody wanting to know what we did and how we did it. So it really, truly is amazing. I guess one of the things I'd like to say is, I'm getting a little teary-eyed myself here. Dr. Michelle Margot, she was at Concordia, and she did the phenology and ecology study for us with the Concordia students, and she passed away. Oh, cancer, I hate it. So, yeah, she still leaves a legacy, though, for our community with the work that she's done. I mean, her name will be there forever in all the journals and so forth. So, person who's gone way too soon.
Yeah, well, I'll second what Jamie said, and that was my second anecdote. I was cleaning my garage the other day, and I ran across a rake that I had on there used for flowering rush only, and I haven't had to use it for about 5 years now. So, thank you.
So Tara, the one item that is on the agenda, we did approve the expenditure for the flowering rush under the consent agenda, but we have an item regarding a new lake management plan.
That's discussion only, Mayor. We're going to come back with.
We'll come back to that then, yeah, because we have to get into our levy and budget discussion. So thank you, Tara and Adam, for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So with that, we should move to Finance Committee Item 7G, and I'll turn it over to our Finance Officer, Heidi.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, and I appreciate being given the forefront, but tonight's meeting doesn't have to be at 6 o'clock. That's actually the meeting in December for our final, when we do our truth and taxation hearing.
I'm
So
just going by what the paper said. It's
I was
6:01 PM.
I was too polite to mention that to him.
But here we are, so let's talk about it, right? So basically, our 2021 preliminary budget, we've got a resolution in your packet tonight talking about what we want to approve for the preliminary budget and levy. Just a reminder that this is set in September. It has to be set by September 30th of every year. That information then goes to the state and to the counties. The county prepares a preliminary tax statement estimate, if you will, for the following year based on those figures. That's distributed to property owners in approximately mid-November. And then in the beginning of December, or the very, very end of November, cities will generally set their final budget and levy at that point. And our final budget, or our final levy, cannot exceed our preliminary levy. So what we set at tonight cannot increase at all. It certainly can decrease, though. So I just kind of, I think, want to go over a few highlights from the Budget Committee. We had some really great meetings this year, and being my first year here in Detroit Lakes, it was a good discussion and good process, I think, that we have here established. So one of the first things that we talked about was what are our budget goals and priorities for 2021. And I just kind of wanted to breeze over those quickly just to give everyone an idea of what we established as our goals and priorities for next year. What I heard from our discussions was we really wanted to prioritize fiscal responsibility, so keeping our levy and tax rate reasonable, being mindful of businesses and everyone's difficulties, especially right now with coronavirus and everything going on in the economy and beyond. So keeping the levy as low as possible, but also not cutting too deeply so that we, in effect, shoot ourselves in the foot for future years. Ensuring the fair charges for services and appropriate fees. We went over our fee structure and didn't change a whole lot, to be honest with you, a lot based on, the current economic climate and such, but we did adjust a few fees slightly. And then maintain a healthy fund balance to ensure financial stability. So as you heard, a lot of what our bond rating agencies and other folks that look at us will look at our fund balance to kind of gauge our financial health. And so I think it's very important that we maintain that healthy fund balance just to ensure those really great rates and things going forward. Other key priorities that were established by the Budget and Finance Committee was explore changes to the fire department and the way we pay our firefighters currently. So we currently are operating under the premise of having sort of one pot of money that we divvy out at the end of the year to the volunteer firemen based on who attended how many calls and meetings and such. What that boiled down to is about $8 per call for firefighters, which certainly isn't much, but I guess better than nothing. Because we've had some challenges in attracting and retaining firefighters, we were talking about implementing a pay-on-call type of system where we would have an hourly rate for the firefighters. and their response to calls. So that hasn't been finalized yet. We haven't set any sort of rates. We've kind of played around with numbers. We're still looking at call data to try to zone in on what that sweet spot is for that rate. But we do have an increase in the 2021 budget to accommodate some sort of an hourly rate for our firefighters. Also getting caught up on maintenance items that haven't been addressed. So the fire hall building was paid off in February of 2020, so we paid that off this year. However, the building's 20 years old and does need some upgrades and some improvements. The roof leaks, the windows are quite leaky. There are some issues with doors and moldings and brickwork that just need to be addressed. So just catching up on some of that deferred maintenance that we probably haven't addressed. And then also developing a plan to make sure that we're replacing our equipment as it reaches the end of its useful life. You'll see out there, and we did this for all of our departments this time around, you know, some of our parks trucks they're not new. We've gotten some good use out of them. And so just trying to make sure that we're equipping our departments with the appropriate tools to be able to do their jobs as best they can. So that was kind of our key priorities, maintaining the current assets that we have, and then ensuring that streets are a priority. So those were kind of what we landed on as far as goals and priorities of our work. And then other items that we factored into this budget, so I'll try to be brief. I know no one likes to hear about finances for babbling on for hours, but so just a few highlights here. Not a lot of great news, unfortunately. Our LGA is decreasing in 2021 by $94,750. So really big chunk of our LGA getting taken away from us for 2021. So that in and of itself ends up being about a 2% levy increase just to make up for that. Municipal state aid maintenance, so that street maintenance aid that we receive from the state, is derived from gas tax dollars, which during coronavirus and the shutdown, not a lot of people were traveling, and certainly not to the extent that they had in the past. So those receipts at the state level have been much lower than they had in the past. And then to kind of add on top of it, it seemed like a lot of communities were utilizing their MSA to a higher degree than they had in the past, probably to fill some budget gaps and things like that. So the state told us, hey, just plan for a 15% decrease in your aid as opposed to the increase that we were scheduled to receive. So there goes another, let's see, it went from about $209,000 in 2020 to $185,912 for 2021. So another decrease there. One more thing, so interest earnings, it's really great news when we go to sell bonds and we get terrible interest rates, or great interest rates, but when you're investing funds, it's not real great to have super low rates. So we had been seeing fairly great rates. I mean, my career isn't super long, but in the length of my career, the rates that we had the past 2 years were awesome. We actually did earn some interest earnings, but we're back down earning next to nothing. Today, actually, I just spoke with one of our investment advisors, and you know, a 2-year to 5-year CDs are 0.3% to 0.5%. So that compared to the 2.5% or 3% that we were receiving about a year ago is just not great. So having to adjust our budget number for interest earnings down did result in a kind of an unfavorable result there. On the other thing on the revenue side is our transfers. So we do transfers from the liquor fund. We did increase that based on them having just their stellar year and then us having to make up for some of these other things. So we did increase the operating transfer to the general fund by $15,000, and then also increased the other portion of the liquor fund transfer, which goes to the DLCCC capital contribution. This is an agreement that had been put into place over a 5-year period, and we increase it 3% each year. So that is going from $36,050 to $37,132. One other thing is the public utilities. So public utilities does not pay property taxes. They give they give the general fund a payment in lieu of taxes or pilot instead. And that amount we are increasing 3% from 2020, so 605,000 to 623,150. And that was just approved this morning at the Public Utilities Commission. On the expenditure side, good news and bad news. So good news and bad news. We do have union contracts in place for 2020 through 2022. However, they were put into place before COVID and any of this was known. So the contracts do contemplate a 3% wage increase for all employees for 2021. So that has been factored into the budget. Health insurance premiums are going up. However, in those union contracts, especially for the family plans, that is just a $25 additional per month payment toward those plans versus, whatever that 4.5% might be. So the employee does have to make up that difference. We have a beautiful new police facility that's going up, and we'll be rocking and rolling next year. So, but with that comes some higher expenditures for heating, electricity, cleaning, janitorial, things like that, just because the footprint of that building is so much larger than their current facility. I want to assure everybody there's not any fluff in this budget. I'm not, that's kind of not my style. So in putting together this budget, I look at 3 years of actual data, our current budget, and then kind of overall trends and market analysis to see where we've been and where it looks like we're going. And so there are no arbitrary, 10 to 15% increases in utility costs, for instance, like I think we've factored in the past. So I really have kind of cut this down to the bare bones of what I think is realistic, but a reasonable budget for 2021. Again, that fire department, those changes we made there, and then also increasing the funding for capital equipment and maintenance items that we've sort of been putting off. So overall, the levy increase that we are proposing this evening is a 6.03% levy increase compared to 2020. That number doesn't sound great, but we are seeing a tax capacity increase for 2021 as well. And the city, later on the agenda, is going to be decertifying 6 TIF districts, which also adds a lot of tax capacity back onto our property tax rolls. So that money will then, or those values will be taxed just like the rest of the properties in town, and those property taxes will go toward the general property tax, not towards that TIF district anymore. So all in all, it appears that our tax rate is going to be fairly stable. 2020 tax rate is 40.17%, and I'm projecting our preliminary 2021 rate will be somewhere around 40.62%. So not a whole lot, but a little bit of an increase. And what that means for a residential homestead property that's valued at $170,000 is that your taxes for 2021 would increase $7 next year as compared to 2020. And that is with the caveat that is if your valuation did not increase. So that is just purely based on our tax rate increase. And then, for example, on the commercial side, a $500,000 commercial property would see with this budget and levy a $42 increase in their city portion of their taxes for 2021. So I guess I'll try to wrap it up. If there are any questions, though, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Questions for Heidi? Okay. Thank you. So we need to approve a resolution, Madeline.
We do indeed.
Yep. Okay.
The Finance Committee spent considerable time doing this, working through these budget items with Heidi and Kelsey, and we move to adopt the levy that's been proposed.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution establishing our preliminary budget and tax levy for 2021. Further discussion?
Mayor, if I could.
You can.
One thing we didn't address is, or I should say we kicked around at the budget meetings about the need to add an extra Public Works employee. Given the need there, I think everybody would agree that there is a need that we haven't added a Public Works employee since 2007. With that, we've added, you know, our population's gone up. We've added close to 56 mobile acres. We've added 40 miles of roads. We've added a lot to town and been very consistent and very conservative on how we treat and maintain those facilities we have. I think everybody would agree that the local taxes is your biggest bang for your buck. You know, you don't see much return when you send it to the state or federal. Adding an extra employee to this year's budget would bring it up to 7.25%, where everybody kind of says, geez, that is a big jump. But yet, let's bring that back into average dollars per month, what that would add by adding one Public Works employee. On a $70,000 house that Heidi just mentioned is going to go up $7, that would add an additional $8 to that. So bringing the payment to $1.30 per month to add one Public Works Public Works employee. On a $500,000 commercial building, that would bring it up to $129, or about $10.75 a month. Heidi said it was going to be going up $42 anyway. By adding one more employee, it would jump to $129. I think that the definitely need is there. Keep in mind, this budget is being set for next year. The way they're talking, we could have a vaccine by the end of the year and be going gangbusters, depending on who you talk to. The other side of it says this could last years. You just don't know. My fear is we have great facilities, great maintenance, what we're doing now, but it could be that much better. I use chief as an example. We had a new police department chief. He came in, said there was need there. We, looked at that need. We justified it. We added a patrolman. We've also added needs to his budget by doing that. We wanted to support him and get him off on the right foot, not only him, but his department. Our Public Works is asking for the same thing. So I think what we need to ask ourselves, is this the year, knowing that we're setting the budget for next year, or do we wait and potentially look at adding 2 employees down the road, making that budget that much heavier the year we do that?
Okay. Any further thoughts on what Matt is suggesting?
Are you proposing to amend the motion then, Matt?
It's out there for discussion right now, Bruce. I would, depending on thoughts, amend the motion, knowing that we can never go higher this year. We can always go lower.
I was just going to say that the idea of this meeting here is we set a maximum, we could always come down.
Yep. I know at the budget meetings, I missed the last meeting. I apologize. I was out of town, so that's why I'm just kind of bringing it up for discussion now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't brought up to me before, and I apologize I wasn't at the budget meetings, but I've talked to Sean about exactly what you've said. He's got a list of how many miles we've added in roads and parks and acres of parks, in the last 15 years, I think it was, that you had that statistic on. So I'm certainly supportive of adding another employee to the Public Works. I think you're right, Matt, looking ahead. It's easier to add one a year for every few years rather than try to all of a sudden say you got to add 2 people. I talked to Sean before the start of the meeting, asking him to give us an update next month, but if he wanted to say something now in support of that, that's fine. But I can tell you that those folks, your folks are out there doing a lot of work, on a regular basis, especially this year. I would say the parks have probably been used this year more than any other year that I can remember, simply because people didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yep.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, I guess I was at the budget meeting, and I did bring up the point of what Matt's talking about is possibly bringing on another Public Works employee there, just for the simple fact that I've been talking about for the last several months here about taking care of what we have. We always look for places to cut. We cut here, we cut there, and now we've got streets that are going to potholes. We've got different things. In years past, we've cut salt budgets. We've cut different things and it's coming back around to hurt us all the time. So I think, we're always looking for that small little squiggly number at the end, rather than looking at what the long-term impacts of these cuts are. I guess I would like to start even looking towards phasing out our dependence on LGA, because it is something that we always complain about. We come back every year, we've got to keep our dollars, we start out with a 2% in the hole because we depend on our last year's LGA amount. I think if we can start looking at some of these funds as additional to our budget, I think we'd be better off. But I would like to see another public works employee to help maintain our parks and streets and everything else that we work hard to pay for. When we get to the end of our bonds, we shouldn't be looking at having to replace. We shouldn't go from one project into the next with just paying it off and then just next in time we'll replace it again. So maintenance is a big thing, and I would, I guess, support what Matt's talking about.
Okay, Ron?
I think this is the wrong time to be adding staff any place on it with businesses hurting like they are, families getting less hours at work, bills going up. I don't know of many people getting a 6% pay increase on their paychecks this year or next year. And I just think that we have to look at ways to find this extra money. Everybody else out there outside of the city government or county government or federal government, they're spending money. Everybody else in the world is trying to figure out how to make ends meet, and they're cutting their budgets. We keep increasing them. I think it's the wrong time. We've got new equipment supposed to be doing more work of men. I don't know if that's true or not, but we've certainly given them enough new equipment to help make the job easier for them. And I think right now we're at the point where a 6.03 is about enough of what the local businessman and what the residential person can handle right now with what's going on in the world out there with COVID. I think there's going to be more cuts coming after this fall. If we don't get a handle on this COVID thing, it could be even worse, and we don't know what direction that's going. And we're saying that we need a 1.5% increase to fund this. Dan, you're saying let's do away with the LGA. That'd be down 94,000, a 2% increase in the levy. It just keeps growing and growing, and there's only so much that people can pay in taxes. I think we've worked hard on this number, so we came at 6.03, and I think we should stick to what the committee recommends.
Anybody else want to chime in? Jamie?
What the heck? I think the only compromise, I'm really against going, I guess I'm uncomfortable going over the 6%, 6.03 or whatever it is. I think the only compromise would be trying to look at fund balance to use to pay for certain expenses and, somehow trying to work a public works employee into that. I don't know if that's possible, but I know we do have fund balance, and we do have, we can maybe switch some things around. I would not go higher on the levy.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Heidi, yeah, I was the one budget meeting I was at, I brought that up about what our general fund balance is. Wasn't it over 50%? What is it right now?
I don't have that right in front of me, to be honest with you, but I know that we are within our policy. So our policy is between 35 and 60%, I believe, or is it 50? Sorry, 35 and 50%. So we might be a little bit above our policy as of the end of 2019. But again, we don't really know exactly how 2020 is going to end up. And I guess I would just reiterate that the state auditor, their guide is that 35 to 60% fund balance. And
35 to 50.
Of unassigned, yep. And that's part of the reason why we get such great bond rates right now. You heard them talk about liquidity and fund balance, and I would just be careful to use fund balance for things that are ongoing expenditures rather than one time.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my hesitation.
No, I understand that. I've been through that, but also when I was on the Finance Committee, and we're in those budget committee meetings for a while. There was a couple of years where we looked at, as the fund balance got up closer to that 50% or above, we chose to use part of it. So I'm not suggesting you have to use the whole thing, but since I wasn't at those meetings, usually a lot of this gets worked out during the meeting, so since Matt brought it up, I'm just supporting what he's saying, but, you know, is there a way to compromise, meaning when Jamie mentions the fund balances, you know, that takes into all of our fund balances, right? It's not just the general fund, it's all the other reserve funds we have, plus it counts the utilities. I mean, that's what way we used to do it, you know, in terms of for the auditor, they would look at all of those fund balances, including the utilities. So I'm just wondering if there's a way we can use some of those dollars.
If it's a public works employee that's specific to parks or streets, that does have to come out of the general fund balance?
No, you're misunderstanding me.
Sorry.
The auditor, the state auditor, when they look at our fund balances, they count all the fund balances of the city. I'm not suggesting we pay for a public works employee out of the public utility. I'm just saying, you're talking about the fund balances, and the state auditor looks at all of them, not just the general fund.
Generally, they look at governmental fund balance because that's
Right.
what, you know, when we sell bonds or something, we pledge the full faith and credit of the city. So
Right.
anything that's governmental would certainly be something they'd look at, mostly general fund because that's our main operating fund.
If I may,
Kelsey.
Mayor, I think to Alderman Imholt's question about fund balance, and we went through this at the budget meetings, there's a lot of things in the general fund budget that we cut back on or we didn't levy for with the intent that we would use fund balance for. So any type of severance payout, any type of insurance liabilities, like, you know, our
Deductible.
Our deductible, thank you. We didn't levy for any of that. We cut that all out of the budget with the intent that we would use fund balance to backstop any of those things. So that's how we went through the budget process of, we didn't specifically say, we're going to draw down the fund balance by X amount of dollars and plug that in. The intent is, with the budget we put together, is that we would use fund balance to backstop any of those other expenses that we are not levying for, that in the past we have levied for them. So that's how we use fund balance in this budget.
And I'd like to say that, you know, we add a person, that person is going to go away. So you're going to have a 1.5% increase on every budget going forward. But also you got to keep in mind that our median family income in Detroit Lakes is $38,100. And you say, well, that's medium. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of people are having a hard time paying all their bills, and you put this on. Now, if you're living on a $1.5 million home, it probably doesn't make a difference. But if you're living on a $150,000 home, it could break the bank, just like this lady we had here earlier. We can't continue spending money we don't have, and we've talked to the community center about they're going to need lots of money. Where's all this money going to come from? You know, there's only so much in the reserve, and part of the reason we're getting these big interest rates that are low, like we've been getting, is because we have that fund balance. We got a AA rating. If we keep spending the reserves away, we're not going to be getting those rates. And I think the budget's been worked out. We've worked many weeks, 2 days a week on it, and we came up with a 6.03, and I think we should stick with it.
Okay.
Mayor, my last comment. I'm not in favor of taking from fund balance, but I am, the nail in the coffin for me was talking to the parks supervisor who has 4 guys throughout the summer to help him mow, to help him weed, to help empty garbage, to clean bathhouses, everything you will. During the summer, we have 4 to 6 weeks of ice hockey in the arena. During that, the youth hockey or whoever rents that ice pays for 2 of those Parks Department employees to work over there full time. So when we have ice in there that they're paying for those employees on that side, that's leaving two people, and plus a park supervisor to cover mowing for 4 to 6 weeks. To mow 56 acres, to clean, I think it's 11 bathrooms, to weed out or weed whip how many ever trees, that if we want the level of service and we want, everybody expects our green spaces to be very nice, top notch, it draws people to town, that we all get compliments on, that, geez, this is great, the beach looks amazing, City Park looks great, Long Lake is an amazing place. we gotta step up and take care of that then. I hate to say it, but I don't wanna be just another town on Highway 10. But Ron, to your point, at what cost and when's the right time? Because my fear, if we don't do it, it's gonna be kick the can down the road for a couple of years, and now all of a sudden we're trying to add 2 and swallow that.
Well, maybe what we have to do is look at the Parks Committee, and we're getting dedicated funds for the Parks Committee, and maybe we have to use some of that Park Committee money for taking care of the parks instead of building new parks. I mean, we certainly have fund budgets there, and if you think that's such a need, then we should maybe look at the parks from that dedicated funds that they're having built up. Maybe some of that money should be used to take care of the parks. Because every time you build something, you end up making the problem bigger of who's going to take care of stuff. But right now, the way we've got our budget, we just don't have any more fluff in it. And like I said, the DLCCC is going to be back, I guarantee you. And they're not going to be just asking for a few $1,000s. And we only have so much money to spend on this stuff.
Okay, well, we've had a good discussion. I think it's probably time we take it to a vote. Bruce?
Well, I mean, if you're cutting off discussion, that means then we're not going to vote on this. All I was trying to do was find a compromise between Matt suggesting 7.25% and saying, could we have a little bit more? I mean, again, I apologize, I wasn't at these meetings. Usually this stuff all gets worked out. So, okay, all right. But I'm just following up because I do second what Matt said. I'm not trying to be critical here, but I do second what he says about having another employee. And I was just trying to find some compromise there where you could have a little bit more of a levy increase, a maximum that you can vote on now and still come down. You can't go low, you can't go higher than what we vote now, but you can go lower. And to the issue of the fund balances, that again, this is my 20 years on the council. I will tell you every year, no offense to staff, I've always been supportive of fund balances, but every year I hear we need this fund balance at 50%. Well, you don't need it at 50%. We dipped into it before, and then it builds back up. And, you know, we've been fortunate in Detroit Lakes, I think, to have 2 enterprise funds that really shelter us from a lot of stuff that's happened to other cities. So I guess I'm supporting what Matt's saying, and if he's not going to make a motion, you know, we can at least see where it goes. I would just say I would move to amend the levy increase to split the difference there and go to 6.6%.
So how does that get us another employee, though? You can't hire a half a person.
Could we hire them like we did when we did hired the police officer? Could we start halfway through the year? So it'd be at the busy time of the season, whether you bring them on board in May or June?
That was a different situation, though.
It's a person.
No, it was a
It's a
different
job.
situation.
It's budget line.
We're doing voodoo financing here. It's just.
Motion denied, no.
Mayor, in sake of time,
Have you accountants ever heard of that term?
I've heard magical before,
you?
but never voodoo.
I haven't.
We need a second on the floor if we're going forward with Bruce's.
Okay, so Bruce, you amended, you want,
Well, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think you can vote on it now because there should have been a second right after my motion. There wasn't, so it dies for lack of second. So I won't bring it up again.
to keep this moving, I'd like to ratify the motion at 7.25%. If it dies, it dies.
okay, so is there a second to Matt's amended motion?
Sorry, may I clarify? It's actually 7.34% with the additional employee.
Yep.
The same dollar figures are
Yep.
in effect, but 7.34 is the actual percentage.
Yep. Ratify the motion to 7.34% to add an extra public works employee.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So now, Charlie, we vote on the amended motion.
Vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, then
Then we
that's
vote on-
amended, and that's the motion. If it fails, then you go back to the original motion.
Mayor, can I ask Charlie a question before we get started in all this?
Sure.
So I'm pointing out the obvious, but we have to have a supermajority to pass this resolution, so what do you need for the amendment?
Same.
So how many people is that?
6.
We need 6, okay. So the amended motion has been seconded. I'll do a roll call vote. Suki?
No.
Zeman?
No.
Marks Erickson?
No.
Bulkey?
Yes.
Well, we're done anyway. 3 no's, right?
What-
Okay.
Well,
You have to kill.
but you should fill out the ballot.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Imholt?
Yes.
Josephson?
Yes.
Bly?
Yes.
Wenner?
Yes.
So it doesn't have enough votes to pass, so now,
I should clarify. Okay, that could be the motion to amend the motion. It failed, or it passed.
Yeah.
But now the motion would be to pass it at
7.34%.
7.34%. That needs the supermajority. If that doesn't pass with 6 votes, then you need to go back and make another motion that would pass.
you ready? You understand that?
Sorry for being confusing.
Just one comment. This is setting the preliminary budget. When we get to December, whatever day we're looking at this again in December, and things have turned south, we can dial it back again.
Right.
It's not that we're setting that budget today. It's we're setting the maximum capacity of what that levy increase would look like. And we can always look at it between now and December, and if something changes, then yeah, we dial it back. And we might have to dial it back even more than that 6%, but we don't know that. So I think at 7.34 is a reasonable cap for this to look at.
Okay, you ready to vote?
One comment about that, everybody is going to take that 7.34, that's going to come out on the next paper and the radio tomorrow, and that's what they're going to think this is.
Well, I have a little bit of say in what goes on the radio tomorrow.
Not mention it at all? I think Vicki will mention it.
All right, I'm just kidding. Okay, you ready to vote? Wenner?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Imholt?
Yes.
Bulkey?
Yes.
Marks Erickson?
No.
Zeman?
No.
Suki?
No.
So now we got nothing.
Now we have nothing. Now someone would make another motion that could hopefully pass.
Hopefully.
That would also need a 6-person majority.
Does anyone want to make a motion at this
Well, the
time?
Finance Committee's going to go back and make a motion that we accept the preliminary budget, set the preliminary budget at 6 point, what was it? That the-
Preliminary levy at
the preliminary
6.03.
levy. Yep, the preliminary levy at what was determined by the Budget Committee when that was done. 6 point, what was it?
03.
Is there a second to Madeline's motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to set the preliminary budget and tax levy, and we'll be at the 6.03% increase. Discussion?
One comment, it's not much of a compromise, but I guess we'll move ahead with what it is.
Okay? You ready to vote? Suki?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Bulkey?
No.
Was that a no or a yes?
That is a no.
Newt? Imholt?
Yes.
Josephson?
Yes.
Bly?
Yes.
Wenner?
Aye.
So now we got it passed, okay. Thank you. I think we'll just go back to the top now because there's no one else here that's got anything special. The 2 chiefs back there, okay? So we'll move back to the Community Development Committee. Dan, are you going to take the agenda tonight?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Cool. Thank you. Well, the first item is discussion only. We had a discussion about the city fence regulations. We're trying to introduce some clarity to what's allowed around the lake as far as height requirements. We're gonna come back probably with some changes in a few months because we want to allow for people's privacy around the lake without walling the lake off. So more coming on that. A second item, item B, is a first reading of an ordinance, 468, to rezone from RA Agricultural Residential District to R2, 1 and 2 family residential at 609 Terry Street. So the Planning Commission reviewed this and unanimously passed it, and so did the CDC. So I'm going to recommend, CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 468, rezoning 609 Terry Street from RA to R2. Discussion? All in favor of the motion? Roll call. Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
The motion passes and first reading of ordinance 468 is given.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm told I have to handle each of the next ones individually. I apologize for that, but I need to follow protocol.
Who told you that?
And
I think it would be okay if you put them all together, because we are doing action for each one, so.
Okay, thank you, Larry. I appreciate that.
Dan,
Yeah.
the city attorney is sitting right next to me shaking his head, so I think you got to do them individually.
if it
Okay.
were a resolution that said we are decertifying all of these, so it would be one resolution, then we could do it once. But this is 5 or 6 separate resolutions. We need to vote on
All right.
each resolution separately.
All right.
And I tried.
I know, thank you, Larry. I'll try to go quickly. So, item C is consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 21-1. CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the decertification of tax increment financing District 20-1. I'm going to dispatch with the discussion on these. Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Imholt. Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner. Motion
Aye.
carries.
Item D, Your Honor, is consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 24-1.
Second.
CDC recommends approval. I so move.
Motion's been made and seconded. Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt. Bulkey.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Bruce must have disappeared, huh? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item E is consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 27-1. CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Imholt. Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson. The
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item F is consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 8-4. CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
And Bruce is out of the room. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item G, consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 8-15. CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Imholt. Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item H is consideration to a resolution decertifying tax increment financing District 8-8. CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Honor. You honor? Wow, there I tripped up finally. All right, item I is resolution setting a public hearing for the proposed vacation of a portion of the dedicated public road in the plat of Kerfman Beach at 174 Shorewood Drive. CDC recommends approval of this, and I so move, but Larry, can you just tell us what's going on here if we get a second?
I'll second, yeah, before you.
Motion's been made and seconded. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, this is a request by a property owner on Shorewood Drive. We have an old road right-of-way on Shorewood Drive, and a number of people have requested that it be vacated as they've come in to do projects on their property. There's a new road right-of-way that's been dedicated for Shorewood Drive, and so the old road right-of-way is no longer needed, and it's just a way to clean this up. Another way that it could be done is the city could go in and do all the survey work and vacate it all at once, but they felt that it was proper for each individual homeowner to pay those costs.
Okay. Motion and second is on the table. Further discussion? Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulky.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else,
That's all I
Dan?
have, Your Honor.
Okey doke. We'll move to the Public Works Committee. Chairman Imholt.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first item is Dave Harmon from the DLCC came before the Public Works Committee just to talk about recapping the summer programs that they do. And I did use the hand sanitizer when I came back in, so this sheet is not in your packet. It was provided to Public Works. I'm going to pass it around so people can see what was involved. But I think, according to Dave, there was a lot of participation by both adults and youth. And it was great that the community center ran these programs. And I guess just putting a plug in as you're talking about the future of the community center, if the community center wasn't running these programs, the city would have to find somebody else to do that. So just keep that in mind as you look forward to their future. The big thing that I've always pitched, even back when in 2004 when we ran into all the budget problems, was keeping that rec center open, because I can't tell you how many impact or how big impact it is on a lot of kids. So I'm just going to pass this around, but we had a good report, and if you'd pass that on, Jamie, please, that'd be great. Item B is we're going to get a request from the Pelican River Watershed on a new lake management plan, and they'll bring that forward at a future date. So just discussion. We also had good discussion regarding the swimming areas along the city beach. And from the situation, we had discussion today. I believe the Public Works and the staff will take a look at that before the start of next year again. And so I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything to that. We also had an update from city engineer about the McKinley Avenue and Frazee Street traffic study, as well as what are the options for that intersection. The options are leave it as it is, put in a street light, or put in a roundabout. The committee gave the engineer direction to at least look at the roundabout and see what that would entail, and he's going to come back with some additional information on that. So again, that was just discussion. Item E is a consideration of approval proposal with BHH Partners for architectural services related to the Washington Ball Field Grandstand. The Public Works Committee reviewed this, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the proposal from BHH Partners for architectural services.
Their proposal is in the packet. Again, if there's any, comments or concerns from council members, this would be the time to do it. But there's just been a general agreement, I think, on the behalf of the council that we need to do something with that grandstand down there.
Okay. Further discussion. Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulky.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Item F is a consideration request from the Patriot Assistant Dogs to waive their Long Lake Park shelter rental fee for September 26th. This wasn't unanimous, but the majority of the committee recommended that we deny their request to not set any precedents for other folks to ask for waivers. So the Public Works Committee recommends denial of the request, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to deny the request. Suki?
Aye.
Zeman?
Aye.
Marks Erickson?
Aye.
Bulkey?
Aye.
Imholt?
Aye.
Josephson?
Aye.
Bly?
Aye.
Wenner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's good you skipped right over the discussion there, Mayor, so we didn't have to get into that. Item G is City Engineer's Monthly Project Status Report, and I'd ask our City Engineer, John Pratt, to do that.
Mayor and council, update on a few projects here. Oops, 1 second. So the Randolph Road project, as I keep calling it, also includes the project that MnDOT's doing right now on Highway 10. The new signals, I'm sure everybody's seen, are up and operational, much better out there than previous. They're working on the Chris Street improvements now. That'll take several more weeks to complete, and then that will be done. And once that's done, that's sort of the last of the 3 pieces of the puzzle to improve that area, and then we'll be wrapped up. Westlake Drive, I'll hit on this just briefly, from Legion to 6. No doubt that most of you have probably seen in the media or otherwise that did come across the original road orders. The county surveyor and Meadowlands Surveying did original road orders for Westlake Drive from 18-something, back when it was a township road. What I guess I want to express to the council, well, that's definitely a very critical piece to the discussion that's going on right now. We are in quiet title action, and in all likelihood, that will still continue, meaning to still go through the hearing. It's sort of too far down the road. It probably changes things a bit, but it still is a significant piece. So I think we'll probably still proceed with the quiet title, wait for the judge's hearing. It doesn't change much in the way that we'll still be looking at a project next year. It just may change whether we have to go into eminent domain on some of it or not. So more to come on that.
Say, John, now if the judge approves everything, when is the expected start of this project?
Right. Right now, Ron, I'm hoping that we can start that possibly right away next spring. That's right now my plan. What I'll tell you is we have 2 conflicting projects next year, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge. We have Westlake Drive, Legion to 6, and then we have Willow from Sherrill to Washington, effectively. Those 2 cannot occur at the same time because they're detour routes for one another. So one of those is going to have to get done first, and the other one later. We've discussed everything from maybe the Willow project has to be a 2-year project. We'll see. Right now, my game plan is to start the Westlake Vision. Haven't heard anything further from that developer other than a couple months ago indicating he'd like to do a project next year. We'll wait and see. South Washington Avenue, that's the largest thing that's going on right now. Moving along very, very well. My hat's off to the contractor. They're doing a fantastic job, not only building the project, working with the adjacent businesses and trying to accommodate everybody, work as quickly as they can, doing very good work. Phase 1, which is the alley, and Forest Street is done and open to traffic. We're in the heart of the battle on Phase 2, which is the Willow and Washington intersection. Concrete's down. Some of the colored stamped concrete is down now. All the curbs are down. Pavement's going in on Thursday. Hopefully, we're close to done by the end of this week, and we get concrete cured up early part of next week. Depending on temperatures, that possibly could open by the middle of next week. Might be the later part of next week, but somewhere in there. So
John, is the alley going to be one way? It seems like it's kind of narrow. Maybe it's not finished yet, or
it is narrow, and it appears narrower than what it used to be. It's not any narrower than what it was. Okay. It's always been 12 feet wide, but there's been a lot of blending between the alley and the pavement, and now we have some curbs and valley gutters that sort of show it, so it seems narrower, but no, it's not. It's two-way right now.
Okay.
Something we could consider. They're working on Phase 3, which is south of Willow, working on grading there. They should be turning the corner there sometime next week to start laying down, probably 2 weeks actually, laying down pavement that way. So any event, things are moving along pretty well there. I think the only other one, South Shore Park, that is pretty much wrapped up. The turf is in, just waiting for it to grow. Otherwise, that project is pretty well buttoned up. Long Pine Estates Phase 2, they started work out there today. So that'll take the rest of the construction season to wrap that up. Nothing on the Bristol subdivision. Willow Homes and Frazee Street, which is our large project, or one of our large projects for next year. We're underway with that. You heard Alderman Imholt talk about the traffic study and the ICE report, looking at roundabouts and signals there. We're out doing the topographic survey, so there's some action on that. I would expect sometime in the next month or two, we'll probably be looking to have an improvement hearing with the property owners on that. So, that's it, Your Honor.
Thank you, and that concludes our agenda, Your Honor.
Okay. Sean, did we get the new Larry's Pathway markers? Are they still coming?
They're still coming.
Still coming, okay. Okay, well, the Finance Committee, I think we've covered a lot of it, but there's still a few left there, Madeline.
Yep. Item C, consideration to a resolution authorizing the membership in the 4M Fund. And I'm just going to ask Heidi to give us a brief explanation of the 4M Fund.
Yes, so the 4M Fund is a fund that was established by the League of Minnesota Cities. It's the Minnesota Municipal Money Market Fund. A lot of municipalities across the state belong to this fund. It's just another place that cities can invest their funds. There's a 4M and a 4M Plus function, and then also PMA Financial Network does do some other investing as an offshoot of that. The reason why I'm suggesting that we belong to this fund is so we can segregate some of our bond proceeds and then draw those down as we pay project costs off, and that way those bond proceeds can earn their own interest that can be allocated to them as required by law.
The Finance Committee moves to authorize membership in the 4M Fund.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing membership in the 4M Fund. Discussion?
We've got a question. Are these funds guaranteed as far as if the company goes failure, we still get our funds out there federally insured?
Yes, so they do follow our guidelines, and they do collateralize any deposits that we have in excess of FDIC and those limits.
All right, very good, thank you.
Further discussion? Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Wenner.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Item D, consideration to resolution updating the designated depositories for 2020 to include the 4M Fund / PMA Financial Network. The Finance Committee moves to approve this resolution updating the designated depositories.
Aye. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution updating our designated depositories to include the 4M Fund. Discussion? Wenner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Item F, consideration to a resolution amending the bylaws of the Detroit Lakes Fire Department Relief Association to provide for an additional $500 per year for a lump sum pension of $8,300 for each year, effective April 1st, 2021. The Finance Committee reviewed this and agrees that we make a motion to amend the bylaws to provide that for that additional $500.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution amending the bylaws of the Detroit Lakes Fire Department Relief Association, adding an additional $500 per year for a lump sum pension of $8,300 for each effective year, each year effective April 1st, 2021. Discussion? Bulky.
Aye.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Wenner.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Item H, consideration to a resolution to support the state bonding bill. Of course, we would like to support that state bonding bill. It's got some money in there that might mean something for Detroit Lakes and our regional area. So the Finance Committee moves to support the state bonding bill.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution supporting the state bonding bill. Discussion? Zeman.
Aye.
Suki.
Aye.
Bulky.
Heck, yeah.
Marks Erickson.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt.
Yes.
Wenner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
The motion carries. So Madeline, in that state bonding bill, or Kelsey or Heidi, there's money in there for the museum, correct?
Correct.
There's 1.8 million in there for the museum, correct?
What other local projects?
We have 2 million in there for the Heartland Trail.
Heartland Trail.
Those are the two major? Okay.
Yeah,
Or the two only?
the 2 million specific for Frazee to DL. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Madeline?
Just make sure everybody takes a look at the monthly financial reports in there for our sales tax and our food and beverage.
So
and,
it looked,
the liquor store.
when I glanced at the regular sales tax for the police department, looks like we're doing pretty well there. So
Extremely well, yes.
if that keeps up, we'll pay that thing off a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
And then we can do something else real cool and get another sales tax. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Madeline. Anything on the public safety? We do have an item there. Ron?
Okay, we have discussion on ordinance number 469, Fire Department key lock box. I'm going to have Chief Ryan tell us what that's about.
Good evening. I'm sure most of you want to get home. It's kind of been a late night. But so anyways, the key lock box ordinance is something that I don't know if there was something in place before or not, but there's a lot of apartment buildings and other buildings around town that do have these lock boxes on. A lot of cities also have it too. And what this is a box that will go on the outside of a commercial building that gives fire department access in case there is an alarm call or some other actual fire that's there, so we can gain access and do minimal damage to your building. So this kind of takes away of having to get a key holder, waiting. It's multiple times in the middle of the night. Key holders are not available. Alarm companies put alarms in buildings and apartment buildings, and they don't even get a key holder's contact information when they put the alarm in. So this way we have access to the building to make sure that we can minimize damage. If there is a small fire in a bathroom or something else, we can get it taken care of and then get back on with our life and not cause any more damage to the building. So,
Okay.
kind of in a nutshell.
So there, this is not first reading tonight,
No,
though.
no, I'm going to say that next month we're going to come back, with a motion, have a reading on that. But he was just explaining what this is. And while you're up there, Ryan, how are you coming with your new recruits for firemen?
So yeah, our new recruits, like I said last month, we have 6 new probationary members. We did get an application for another one, but right now with 6, that is taxing the current members in order and training and stuff like that. To go along with that, just in like last month alone, we logged over 203 hours between training and meetings in the department. Tonight, there's 2 captains over at the fire hall with 4 of the new members doing additional training, trying to get them sped up, caught up, stuff like that, because currently we do have such a young department. So the active members are putting in a lot of extra time as well, trying to educate and do some training to get these newer ones caught up. So we are currently 27-ish. We have one that will be retiring next month with 20 years of service.
Okay. And Ryan, you were saying that for these new recruits, they're actually putting in 2 nights of special training, plus they're putting in the Wednesday nights. They're actually working three nights, and they do that for a period of a whole year?
Well, no, but correct, but not correct. So basically, the new recruits will start their block training come this fall, and that normally is a Tuesday, Thursday night class, and then obviously we have Wednesday night class. So in order to get their firefighter 1, firefighter 2, the state used to have where we would get through MBFT some reimbursement money. The firefighter would have to do that all in the first year. Well, so for a new firefighter, that was, when I joined, that was 6 months. 6 months of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And it gets to be a lot. Well, I can straight out tell you that the gentleman I joined with, who is no longer on, but at that time he said if we do it in a couple more weeks, my wife was going to have some problems. So I've been working with the instruction place that does our classes, and also been talking with the past state fire marshal, who's now a deputy of public safety, and trying to get it so, that we can do these classes in a 2-year span and still get reimbursed, so it's not all city expenses. We can use the reimbursement money, but trying to stretch that out so we're not burning them out in the first year. So.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so no action tonight. Thank you, Chief.
Then I would like to call on Police Chief Todd to come up and tell us how the new police department's coming. He's there every day taking pictures for a scrapbook, and tell us where we're at on that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The status of the building is going fairly well. There are a couple areas that they're a little behind on, but they made a lot of progress today, and they brought a pretty big crew. So the areas that they're a little behind on are flat work in the lower level. Specifically, the parking garage area hasn't been poured yet, but they're laying down the foam sheets, and they'll embed the floor heat tubing in that the first couple days of this week, so they should be ready to pour the parking area by the end of the week. The steel on the main level was another area that they were behind on. The contractor that was bringing the steel was actually scheduled to be here 2 weeks ago in our plans, but they arrived today. However, like I said, they brought a big crew, and when you leave tonight, look over there and you'll see that they have almost all the vertical columns welded in, and they're already installing cross members at the top of those vertical columns. So I think they'll make pretty fast progress. The foreman thought they'd be in and out in a week. All the rooms in the lower level have been poured. The evidence room, the evidence processing bay, storage rooms, and then the large hallway with the series of rooms, armory, weapons cleaning, decontamination rooms, that's all been poured and that's cured already. So it looks really good. You'll start seeing some big time progress here this week with the steel going in, and I'll keep you updated.
Thanks, Chief.
While you're at it, Chief, could you kind of give us a little update for how the summer months went for you for June, July, August?
Well, it was busy, but when we compare this year's call numbers to last year's, we were down. COVID had an impact on our call levels, but we remained busy. Just for instance, today, the officers couldn't keep up, and I was out helping take calls just because the calls for service kept rolling in. But we were down about 85 calls for the month of August compared to 2019.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Anything else, Ron?
That'll be all, Your Honor.
Anything on the liquor gambling control, Dan?
There's nothing.
Public utilities, anything to report there, Madeline? Okay. Item 12A is consideration to give, renewing the resolution, extending the declaration of emergency. And I think it's the recommendation of the city staff to do so for another, till the next city council meeting, correct?
Say, Mayor, before we do that, can we do 11B?
Oh.
I don't think we had that on the consent.
I missed that, sorry. 11B is consideration to a resolution authorizing the execution for a grant agreement with MnDOT for airport perimeter fencing. And I would entertain a motion and second for approval.
So move.
Second.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Mark Xerickson.
Aye.
Boki.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Winner. So
Aye.
now we'll move to the declaration of emergency. And that is your recommendation, Kelsey, correct?
I'll make a motion that we extend the declaration of emergency for the city of Detroit Lakes.
Second.
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Winner.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Imholt.
I was going to say we need to find some reason to hold it up, so we, just like at the state level, so we can get something out of it, but I'll vote yes.
Okay, great. Bulkey.
Aye.
Mark Siriksen.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Suki, motion carries. I need to find someone to serve on the Planning Commission. If you've got any suggestions for a candidate, Sean Nygaard is resigning. He's apparently busier now than he was before, and he's unable to.
He has a new business in Moorhead.
New business or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to recommend the name of Scott Walls to be on our Development Authority to replace Chet Collins, who moved out of the state. But after discussion, further discussion, and talking to Scott, we have come to the conclusion he probably has too many potential conflicts of interest. And so I will have to find somebody to serve out that term for Mr. Collins. If you have any suggestions, I would be glad to hear them. I do want to recommend that Melissa Hemans be appointed to the Tourism Board to fill Paul Chatarawi's term. Paul is apparently unable to continue on the Tourism Board, so I would recommend Melissa.
I so move to appoint her.
Suki.
Aye.
Zeman.
Aye.
Mark Siriksen.
Aye.
Bulkey.
Aye.
Imholt.
Aye.
Josephson.
Aye.
Bly.
Aye.
Wenner.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else from the city staff that needs to come before the council tonight?
I just have one thing I was going to mention is an update on our census. Again, just a reminder that the last day to respond to the census, either online or phone or mail, is Wednesday, September 30th. So it's just at the end of the month. And unfortunately, I get these weekly updates. I've been tracking our response rate, and Detroit Lakes has actually fallen. Let's see here, the Minnesota average response rate is 74%, and the national average is 65.2%, and we're currently sitting at 64.7%. So we actually have fallen below the national average. So again, certainly encourage everyone to complete their census before the end of the month.
So what's the last day, Kelsey?
It says here Wednesday, September 30th.
Okay. Anything else from city staff? Natalie, anything further?
Nothing.
Matt?
Two things. I think that Larry Bubol's South Shore Park, the sidewalk through there, if you haven't noticed, that sidewalk is busy all the time. So thank you for seeing that through, and Bruce, I know you spearheaded that. Thank you for that. Two, pickleball courts. Apparently that's the hottest thing in town. Either that or they're selling drugs, because that place is always busy. So I'm amazed by that. That blows me away. But good, all good things.
Madeline?
Us seniors are active, you know. Nothing.
Ron?
Well, I'd just like to go on what Kelsey said about the census. It's $2,800 if you don't, that's what we're gonna lose if you don't sign up for the census. That's $28,000 over 10 years. That's for, so if you got 7 kids at home and your mom, that's take 9 times that. That's how much we're gonna lose. So if you haven't signed up on that census, get your computer or call the city and we'll help you get on there. But it's very important that we don't lose that money.
Okay, Dan?
Nothing.
Jamie? Bruce, thank you for emceeing that celebration for Larry Bubolz. That was a nice deal.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
The business of this council has come to a conclusion. The meeting's adjourned.